AI art is absolutely awesome, and it's also incredibly terrifying. And let me tell you why. First, I have to start with a project that I'm working on. So it's for a company in Kansas, and they want some art to put in their clinics, right? To put in their rooms. And they called me up and they asked, "Hey, do you have a couple more options? We'd like to have some natural stuff around that maybe people could find a canvas." So I was like, "Dude, sunflowers! I could totally do sunflowers." So I geared up. There's a place near my house. I got ready. I paid for like a $16 ticket, right? And I went all the way down to the sunflower field. It was only like 20 minutes away, so it wasn't that bad. But it was very disappointing. The sunflowers were looking like super droopy, and they were not very cool. There was a storm earlier, and I was like a week off, so I was very, very sad. As you can see in this photo, my one kind of good photo, almost the entire field is drooping down, but whatever. So this morning, I came out of the fog of bitterness at the natural world, totally hating me, and I had the idea, could I just create the art myself? Could I use that newfangled technology called AI to try this out? And I was like, well, why not? I'm bored. I'm sad because of my sunflowers didn't work out. So let's do this. So AI art generators, right? They allow us to use their system to create works of art based on fields of text. So I fired up some of the AI art generators out there, and I punched in a line of text. I typed in a realistic, high-resolution photograph of a field of sunflowers at sunset in Kansas. Pretty much exactly what I would love to get a photo of, okay? So I got these results in the art generator called DALL-E or DALL-E. I'm not sure how to say that, but whatever. And wow, these are these are actually really cool. They look like some cell phone shots, maybe in lower lights, something like that. And when you pull one of these up and you look a little closer, you can see that some of them look more like colored pencil drawings, right? And that's okay. That's cool. It's still neat that I could type something in and get those kind of results. But I wanted to try another platform, and this one's called Midjourney. And Midjourney is more of like an artistic type platform. DALL-E is supposed to be a little bit more realistic, but I found the results hit or miss. And so I just typed in here, I typed in Kansas field at sunrise, clouds, sunflowers, and a few random things that I saw other people put in there that I didn't understand what they did. And I got this result. I then did a variation, and I think the results are a little bit better. You can ask Midjourney to do a variation of something that was already created. And then I continued to tweak my language a little bit, right? I put in sunset instead of sunrise, and I got these variations. So you can kind of see that the results are at least very interesting, right? They're cool, but they aren't even close to being perfect. They don't look like I'm taking my Fuji out into the countryside and I'm getting a photograph of what I see in front of me. They look a little bit more like paintings, even though these are much, much prettier than any painting that I could ever personally do. So I was not going to get AI to generate some photorealistic shots of the field of sunflowers for me, right? Not right now, right? I wasn't going to take my lazy route and allow me to generate just magic and send them out to a client. Maybe I'm not using the right prompts or the right AI generator, whatever, it's okay. I still, though, had a lot of questions, right? This process really made me engage neurons in my brain that I've never really looked at before. I wanted to see what it could do, for instance, for other types of photography. So I spent some time looking at some other prompts for the AI. I love old one-room schoolhouses that I find out in Nebraska, Kansas, and Iowa. So I just typed in one-room schoolhouse in Nebraska. Pretty cool. These are kind of magical. And here's a black and white variation of that one. I just added the language black and white to the prompt. And then I was like, well, can we put some playground equipment in there? So I typed that in. And these are very, very cool, right? They're super flawed. If you zoom in on these, this playground equipment does not look right. It's some kind of weird, crazy technology, but it's still pretty impressive, right? If you zoom out, these could probably pass the Instagram test for being like real shots that I went out and found. And that's kind of crazy, right? Even more interesting is having DALL-E create interior shots of these abandoned schools and churches and homes that I find out in the country, right? Because I'm always going out, I'll get permission from the landowner and I'll go in and get a couple shots of what these things look like on the inside. And DALL-E did an incredible job. These are far more realistic than I ever thought were going to be possible right now, right? Look at the detail in this shot. I was able to type in exactly what I wanted to DALL-E. A fireplace with a desk and books, and I wanted an old wallpaper pattern on the left-hand side. I put in the curtains in the window in front of me, and it created that work of art for me, that kind of photorealistic work of art. I have to say I put a ton of hours into these, like just typing them up variations, and it's like seriously awesome. And as a creative person, a partnership with AI like this is pretty exciting, right? I've been thinking about it all the time. But this whole process is also making me think really, really deeply about how this might impact my future as a photographer and a creative. Or maybe, if my son ever wanted to go into this kind of a field, or some of my previous students. For instance, some of the machines allow us to upload photos and then let the AI create variations of that photograph. And this is where, when I found out we could do this, I was like really kind of bummed out a little bit. My conscience became troubled, right? Since I quit my job last year to be a creative and do photography and all that stuff, I've been doing a lot of freelance jobs for clients. And one other thing everyone does is steal from each other. It just kind of is. It's sad, but even professional artists have probably dealt with this, right? So a creative director, a designer, calls and says, hey, I need a photograph or I need a piece of art that looks like this. And they send another person's photograph or the other person's art. And like, do you have anything like this? Or could you do anything like this? And this seriously happens all the time, right? With this new technology, that art director can take a screenshot of the photo they want, right? They can just find a low-res photo on Facebook or Instagram, and they can throw it into the AI generator to create something similar but different. So for instance, my friend John, he's an amazing photographer. He just posted a photo on social media that I really resonated with. I was like, oh man, this made me stop and look, and I was like, this is pretty cool. But what I did is I imagined myself as an art director wanting this maybe for a scary book cover or something, right? Halloween's coming up. But let's say John is too expensive. So I just screenshot this thing and I upload it to an AI generator and I get these variations. That's exactly what I did. We get these things right here. And as you can see, wow, this is crazy, right? It's kind of silly. And that feeling of excitement, right, that I had earlier becomes less and less exciting. I feel a little bit kind of sick. Okay, these variations, they're based on a low-res screenshot and they're still pretty amazing. Now, yes, again, they're messed up. They have artifacts in them. They're low detail. They don't have a lot of resolution, right? So imagine this technology in a few years. Imagine it in 10 years, 20 years. That's blowing my mind to even think about where they're going to be able to go. They're going to be able to make much more realistic renderings and probably high resolution enough to take giant prints from, right? We're going to be able to just type something in and make a wall size print, and it's going to look freaking awesome. It might look better than what we could do because we could control all of the variants. Let me show you one more troubling thing that I found, okay? I had Midjourney create this amazing scene, and it looks really awesome, of an abandoned home at sunset in Nebraska. So I just typed in those search terms, and I got this. It looked great. But you could ask Midjourney and some of the other AI programs to create variations of what it already created, and I asked it to do that for this one. And it created this. And I kind of stopped for a second. On the bottom left corner, is that a watermark? And I'm feeling, again, conflicted and troubled by seeing possibly the watermark down here on the bottom left corner, right? These AI machines, they are trained by millions and millions of images from the internet being fed into the computer, and the computer's trying to understand what those images are. So it's easy right now to create new material that's stunning. And so you can see how our images, our collective fabric of imagery, is helping these machines create work. This new material that's being created is easy to, for instance, infringe on copyright. These pieces that I'm showing you right here on the screen right now are amazing. These are from Midjourney's front page. They're featuring this art, and it's all clearly copyright infringement, right? It means that we need to take this stuff very seriously, right? A big part of this is here right now. It's happening. It's impacting how people create work. For instance, this work of art by Jason Allen won first place for an art category at the Colorado State Fair. It is amazing. This thing is really, really unbelievable. I could never in a million years create something like this myself, right? But this artist was able to create this with a low-res version of AI art, right? They used Midjourney, and then they used Gigapixel to increase the resolution. He clearly he said that he put in his application, he said via Midjourney, right? And I just doubt that the judges even knew what that meant, or if they have any kind of rules for who can submit this stuff, right? So this is happening right now. That's going on. I'm sure there are people who are creating versions of our work for book covers and illustrations and much more, right? At the very least, for web pages where they don't want to pay an illustrator to go and create something for them, they're just throwing some stuff into Midjourney or DALL-E or any of the other ones that are out there. Is that okay? I don't know, right? This is not super surprising. We've been uploading our images online for many, many years, right? We know full well that the terms and services that we just automatically click okay, right? We don't even read them. We just accept them, and then we don't know exactly how our images are going to totally be used, right? We don't seem to want to face the fact that when we're uploading and using services for free, we're giving up a lot of control. So I don't exactly know what the answer is, right? I have no idea. I'm just a dude in Nebraska. All I know is that this is awesome and it's terrifying. The photo on my screen right now is one made 100% with Midjourney. It's incredible. I took it into Photoshop. I also put it into Gigapixel, and this is going to make an amazing 16 by 24 canvas from a shop. The details are all there. It's going to be amazing. It's also going to be beautiful, and I want to sell it, right? I want to put it on Etsy and sell it. But I also kind of want to cry. And that's the thing. This stuff is mind-boggling. I guess the idea is that we need to have a conversation about it and try to figure out what this means for artists, photographers, creatives going forward. There are no answers yet. Let's just get the conversation kind of going.